Everybody all set?
Okay.
Are we live?
Yeah, Bella and James, how are we doing? Ready to go?
Okay.
We live? What's that?
I didn't hear the thing say record.
Oh, she's getting some batteries? Do we need to wait one more minute for her, or are you all set? I'm all set. You're okay for us to start?
Okay.
As
Okay.
long as we're going.
Are we recording?
It's recording, Tim.
Jackie, are we recording?
You are, you're all set.
Don't know. Let's see.
Jackie, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you not hear me? You're all set.
It's Jackie. Okay.
It's not on.
Can you hear us?
Mhm.
Oh, she said she's recording and she can hear us.
Okay, good. All right.
All right.
So I would like to call the Eastline Board of Education regularly scheduled meeting to order for October 4th, 2021. And for everyone who can rise, please rise and join myself and Kevin Siri in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody on Zoom with public comment?
I'm finding that right now.
Okay. Would anybody like to address the board concerning any matter with the district at this time? Anybody in the audience? Okay. And
We didn't get any.
nobody, yeah, we got
correspondence,
nobody,
no
so,
correspondence, so.
okay, all right. All right, so let's see, we've got our minutes from September 27th, 2021 for approval. Anybody like to make a motion on those minutes? Who was that? Candace? Candace moved it. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Jill seconds it. Any comments, corrections, modifications to those minutes? Jamie,
I have a correction.
okay?
On the executive session, it needs to say that we moved into executive session to include all of those people for the purposes of Board of Ed security.
Okay. Jackie, you got that? Oops. Yes. You got it, Candace? Okay, good. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, with the modification of those minutes, then all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody disapprove? Anybody want to abstain? And those minutes are accepted. Just a note here, we are under a little bit of a time crunch today, just because we also have a board retreat scheduled for after this meeting to start at about
7:30.
7:30ish. So although I don't want to cut any of the conversations short, but with that, we do have special reports, and I see Kevin Siri is here representing the Board of Selectors. Well, we got to hear a little bit more than that.
Okay, just going back over the last few weeks, back on the 19th, we had the American Suicide Prevention Foundation. They had to walk out of the darkness walk at McCook's. Several members here participated. Their goal was to raise $25,000. They were at $55,000 the day of the race, so that was really
Wow.
cool. And it was the foundation in cooperation or in conjunction with the Brian Daigle Foundation. So great work by them and Ann Daigle and Brian and Paul Daigle for all they've done in that area for several years. On the 25th, we had the Oyster Festival, which was primarily a fundraiser for the Miracle League. And after expenses, they anticipate well over $20,000 to be raised for the Miracle League. So that went really well. Coming up on the 11th, the Indigenous People Day at McCook Park has been advertised. And there's several foundation library boards for a couple other organizations sponsoring that. So everyone should try and make it effort. It's a whole day event for several hours, so if people can get down there.
Oh, wow.
Part of it, I think that's be a great opportunity to for the educated. And then the 16th is the Boardwalk 5K. And I'll be chairing it on. I won't, but I'm usually we get a lot of participants in that and it's a yearly thing. I'm not sure where the proceeds for that we're gonna go. Coming up on the 6th, we have a town meeting before our regular Board of Selectmen meeting, and we'll be approving several things that have already passed through Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance. We about $126,000 from the American Rescue Plan, $54,600 for Ledgelight, who's our health district, and they've asked for 1% from all the towns they provide because of all the extra requirements they've had over the last year and a half that you expect. And they were not part of any subsidy, so every town has so far said yes to the 1%. For us, that was about 54,600. The Giving Garden is up for $25,000. They have group of people have started farming on Church Lane behind the Baptist Church. They've been giving hundreds of pounds of food to people in need. So we're giving them $25,000 for a shed and one of those domes to start and have an early planting and a late planting season so they can continue to provide food for people in need for a longer period. $8.9 thousand to the Southeast Connecticut Council of Governments to help with. They've also had some, which were part of Southeast Connecticut COG. They provide sort of the Lilly County, so they've had a lot of added expenses. So all the towns are giving a little bit for that too. $12,500 for a pump out boat, which will help keep Niantic River cleaner. This is something Waterford's putting up 12.5. We're putting up 12.5. There's some grant money for the rest.
Wow.
The American Legion, we're giving $13,900 to because they've still been providing services to veterans, and over the last year and a half, last year their revenues were 30,000 short. This year 25. So this will help them put a new boiler in, a new ice machine, and now they're starting to generate some revenue with their breakfast dinners and using their lounge. $9,000 to the VFW because they have provided resources to veterans last Thanksgiving, Christmas, and so forth. And then $2,000 to New London Homeless Hospitality Center. So that's it, and that'll be coming up next week. So
Wow.
very much it.
Oh, very good. Excellent. Anybody have any questions for Kevin?
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to give a shout out to Ledgelight. I volunteer with them during the COVID clinics. They're now rolling into the vaccination clinics for the flu. And I just want to tell you, they're a major asset to this community, a great group of volunteers. So I just want to, as a community meeting, do a shout out to them. They're wonderful and they do a great community service. So I'm happy the town is some money to continue.
And I have a little bit of a bias there too, because my son used to work at Ledgelight.
Right.
Aunt Cunningham's daughter Mary Day
Works there.
too. So we have some nice local flavor there too. So it's a great organization.
Anybody else? Good. Okay, well, thank you, Kevin. That was great. I think I saw Sashi up on the screen, our Eastline High School student representative, and
Two more, too. They're
and what's
joining their
this?
new
What's
ones, Manana and
Manana?
Katie and Brendan.
Brendan.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Wow, 3.
We've got-
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
keep
Sashi,
it.
you want to take off? Take it off?
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll
good.
keep it short. I'm just gonna have them introduce
Oh, you're on
themselves.
mute.
Hello. Better?
Might have an audio.
Yeah.
Hello?
No, enough that she were muted. She's
Hold on.
40 years younger than me. She should.
Fix
Uh-oh.
that now. I can always use.
Hello?
my computer If not.
Yeah.
Ooh, I heard some.
Hello?
Bill, you want me to use my computer?
Hello? Hello?
No.
Brendan, can you hear me?
We're waiting. Bella and James. Two
Yeah, I
of our
can hear
students are helping us out tonight because Grant Place is out for part of this week.
Oh,
So
okay.
I want to thank them while they're feverishly trying to figure out our audio there.
Mhm.
Because these
Hello?
shit might not
Oh,
work.
I heard you. I hear you.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
All right, good
Great
job.
job, guys. Good job.
Good work.
You're doing good.
I'll just keep it short. I just want them to introduce themselves. And then the only real update I had, well, if anyone doesn't know me, I'm Sachi Vora. I'm a senior at Eastline High School, obviously. But the only real thing I have for you guys is next Wednesday, we have the Apple biliteracy tests for a group of different like languages that people can choose from, and then the PSAT. So that's taking place next Wednesday. So that's all I really have. And then I'll hand it over to these two and have them introduce themselves.
All right. So can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great.
Hi, Brendan.
Hello. Sorry we couldn't be there in person, but we hope to be there soon. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm a high school junior. My name is Brendan Fant, for those of you that may not know me. I recognize a few faces from both the middle school, the high school, and from the Board of Education. I've been there a few times. I just want to say it's good to be here, and I look forward to contributing in the future.
Good. No, thank you. Good.
Hi, I'm Manat Kadian. I'm also a junior. I'm the secretary of the Eastline High School class of 2023, and I look forward to working with Brendan, Sachi, and the rest of the Board of Education.
Excellent. Excellent. Yep. Well, we'll look forward to the reports as the year progresses right along. So that's wonderful. Great. Okay. All set? Oh, Eric, go ahead. Oh, sure. Yeah.
One, so Sachi or other, how are college applications? You guys all must be, seniors must be knee deep in that. How is that going, or how are people doing with that?
Sure. So a lot of people obviously have the November 1st deadline, but the counselors recently came into each English class and took over an entire block of our time to just go through checklists and kind of get everyone on the same page and make sure that everyone's getting to where they should be at this point. All of the deadlines are coming in. There's been a lot of work in each English classes with essays, and counselors are starting to go through a meeting with each senior individually to get them recommendations done and send out all of what needs to be done. So far it's been going well. I think the stress is slowly building up until the deadline. I think everyone's obviously, but I think everyone's handling it really well, and the counselors have definitely been there for us along with the teachers. So I think everyone's on the same page in that sense. So.
Great. Thanks, Sachi. I appreciate the update. And Manat, are you related to Sumit?
Yeah, I'm his younger sister.
Ah.
He was very good. You got a big
Don't.
pressure.
Don't pressure. Oh my God.
I'm just kidding.
I'll let him know you guys say hi.
Yeah, good. Okay. All right. We're ready to move forward into our discussion action items for the evening. So the first one that's up is for discussion on the Eastline High School baseball field bid process.
All right, so Mr. Lund is here. He's going to kind of give us some updates. At a meeting, one of our board members asked about a little bit more specifics. Thought we bring the project aim, scope, and some of the objective. Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we'll talk through that.
So as Mr. Hickman said, we had some questions from our last meeting. So specifically what was included in the final bid package. So what I had done last week is I took just the most basic excerpt with the easiest to understand portion of that. I think it's probably in your package, but it describes the 10 or 12 different line items that the contractors will need to go through in order to rebuild the field. For everyone's information, we actually have a mandatory pre-bid meeting that they have to attend, and that's scheduled tomorrow morning at 10. So we'll see who we get based on that. Because if you don't come, you can't bid. I can go through the list if you like. I know you're short of time, or I can just answer any questions you may have.
Chris, maybe just a real high level description of the steps.
Okay, so basically dig out what's there, we dispose of the vegetation in the very top layer, and then they'll set aside down to the base of the zone, which during the testing and evaluation on the field, that's what they, one thing they determined is what the root zone for the vegetation on the field is around 18 inches. So dig out the top 18 inches, take out the bad, set aside the good. They'll grade what's underneath that, and then they will mix in sand to that material that was taken out because it was just not porous enough. So the sand will give it better porosity, allow it to drain better. Then they put that back down. We'll put the irrigation system on top of that, put the cover on top of that, and then we have options to either seed it or to sod it, depending on cost and where we're at that given time. And that's basically all there is to it.
Good. So
Most
good.
complicated one.
Questions for Chris? All right, Kate?
Chris, how many bids are we looking at?
We don't know. So tomorrow at that meeting, we'll see which contractors are interested, because if they don't come to the meeting, we won't, they can't bid.
And how many people are you throwing this out to, I guess?
Well, we had to advertise it on the state bid site,
Mhm.
so I have no idea who looked at it. I had a couple of questions that came in today.
Okay.
One was just a general repurposing site. They grab it and they put it out to their bidder, so it's hard to say. And then one was one specific outfit. I know that the Tom Irwin Associates also ensure that the companies they generally work with on a regular basis are, they participate, they're all giving copies of it as well.
Good.
So I would guess at least 3, maybe 5.
Okay, and what is the relationship to Tom Irwin?
They're the consultants that do the design.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Who else? Candace?
I just have one, just
Sure.
the projected length of time.
Mhm.
of the project.
Once we start putting shovels in the grounds, they trigger about 30 days.
It's not bad at all.
Maybe a little more or less, because it is a lot of signs and the other thing that's not included in here, which I'll be coordinating with the town, potentially one other small contractors, connecting irrigation on the field to the water line in the road.
Right.
So, but that's a short stretch.
That just popped into my head. Moving all that material is, you're gonna have to consume some of the parking lot? Is there space that they're gonna put all that stuff temporarily?
They're going to keep most of it on the field itself, because we don't necessarily have to dig up all right field, so we're gonna keep it on the field. However, we probably are gonna lose a good portion of the senior parking lot for that month of construction.
Mhm.
Vacant spot?
Just for
I think just the equipment. Yeah.
It's to park the equipment.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep. Barry?
I have a quick question. I went back and looked at the August 16th meeting, and the proposal came out, and I was looking at that, and the dollar figure in there was 130, 150. And then I went back and I looked at the minutes of the meeting, and the minutes show 175. So I just can't remember how we got from 150 to 175.
I remember I made the motion on the TV. I was on Zoom on that, and I recommended 175, and I used the words up to. Yeah,
Okay, so you upped the
I
proposal.
said, yeah, just so that,
150,
yeah, that it
175.
would be, that it would not be able to go over 175,000. And I'm hoping that it's gonna come in much, well, we don't know. We'll see where it comes in, you know.
And then the bids are due actually next week, so they're very short turnaround. They're advertised last week. We have a meeting tomorrow. They're all due next week.
Good. Other questions? Anybody else? No? Okay. Chris, don't move. The next item that's up for discussion and action
Sit for a sec.
is the Lilly B. Haynes Library remediation situation. And Jeff, did you want to say a couple of words? before
Yeah,
we-
just hopefully the board had followed a few of the last few weekly updates where Chris has given some components to that. It kind of grew in scope, especially when we saw the cost associated with the remediation. That's when we kind of put the brakes on and said, we need to bring it to all of you and have some discussion on that. So I'll have Chris just give a little bit of background. Melissa's here as well. Something that happened pretty quick over the course of about 2 to 3 days with mold that improving some of the spaces in the room. So Chris, I'll turn it to you.
So if you, I'm trying to remember the timeline myself, but this occurred basically right before the teachers returned to the school. We noticed that we had very high humidity in the ED center at Lilly B. And then the librarian, when she came back, it's like the day or chair in the corner where she keeps her desk. So we shut down the library, had Enfor come in, turn down the units to the extent possible to dehumidify the building, or that room is all that was impacted, just that building. Then we brought this air to sample, had very, very high mold content in there. What I think the cause is twofold. One, we know that we have some problems with the building because there's no moisture barrier underneath the slab. And we're doing the reconstruction of the renovation project. We knew we were having issues in the hallway because some of the tiles were popping up.
Yeah.
By the time the tiling was being done, the carpeting had already been replaced with the media center. And I think the high water table, a lot of rain this summer, contributed to moisture wicking up through the slab. The second part of the problem, I think, is the fact that with COVID, we were running 100% outside air constantly for ventilation. Not just adding a significant amount of moisture into the air, probably beyond that system's ability to dehumidify. To get something lower humidity in there, we'd actually have to supercool the air and then reheat it, which it wasn't designed to do. Probably what I'm going to do next summer will be to reheat oil and the floor. So for this time, we had Melford Property Restoration is a restoration company in Connecticut. I equate them to Service Master, ServPro, all those companies that come in after floods and do remediation. They came in, they investigated the results from this air, which told them where to look, basically. And we come up with a restoration plan or remediation plan for the media center again. What it entails is putting in extra dehumidifiers, which we've already done, but a lot more. With the change we made, we actually have the humidity running more now, which is well within standards. But they'll come in there, add an extra dehumidification, put in extra HEPA filters temporarily. Then they'll have staff in, and they're recommending a group of 10 people that are going to come in and basically wipe everything down top to bottom. Books, all the furniture, all the chairs, then steam clean the carpets. After that's done, they come back to us again to see what the remaining mold spores in the building are, or the building. Hopefully, which are very low because of the change we've already made and the cleaning that will be done. And the estimated cost is $40,000 for this cleanup. We did ask, we wanted to possibly lower the cost by books, replacing them and whatnot. Actually, the book portion of it didn't really contribute to the greatest amount of cost of the project, so we would retain the books and do the cleaning.
Questions? No.
Just as a basic question. So it's $40,000 to wipe everything and do all of these steps that you've said, the dehumidifiers, the HEPA filter, and wipe down. What product are they using to wipe down?
That's a mildew site.
Okay, so it's not bleach or anything like that. I mean, is there anything we can do? I don't know. I'm just thinking as a parent, is there something I can do to volunteer? And I know that's the wrong tack to take. Never mind. It was just like, I wanted to go in and rescue you.
Thought's
So-
good.
I know, I was like, let's rescue them, but
Yeah.
I apologize.
But that's a legitimate, similar
Yeah.
question to what has been asked, and how I would respond to that is, this is a remediation and a restoration.
Okay.
So you want to have properly trained people with proper equipment. Some people mold is very bad, others,
Yeah.
they don't, it doesn't bother them at all, so.
If I have bleach, I'm properly trained. No, I'm being sarcastic. I'm being very, very serious. No, I understand. I have no skill set for that.
But the answer to this question, in this particular case, I think we really want professional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because of the staff, absolutely.
yeah, that's good. Kate,
Absolutely.
Kate, did you have?
Well, I'm wondering, Chris, and thank you for your presentation. Is it
Thank
just
you.
contained to the library at this point in time?
Good question.
And then how many books are we looking at? Do we have a sense of that?
Well, all of them need to be cleaned if that's what you're asking, but
The inventory, I didn't count them up, but it was 300 pages and there are about 30 titles.
So
Around 10,000.
Yeah.
10,000 books. Okay, and how many of them do you think are damaged? Because sometimes those are not reparable.
So there's surface mold on a number of them, but we'll look through them as they go. What we're gonna do is we'll take everyone off the ship, wet the exterior glass and open up, make sure there's nothing green growing inside. Anything that's questionable, we'll set aside. We'll come and look at those. But the ones I've looked at, I've only seen maybe 3 or 4
Yeah.
that I would probably wouldn't keep. And some of those I think are overstained anyway, so it's like.
So what are we doing in the meantime for our library and for the librarian? Because it's a significant health factor risk for,
Nobody's allowed to allow it.
okay, so shut down.
She has a separate
Nobody's been in the
space.
Library since before school started.
Oh,
So she's
dear.
Using a room in the north wing.
Okay,
And so she's still holding library classes, and so
Okay.
she's still developing administering curriculum.
Mhm.
My children are obviously not allowed to check out books, nor is my staff allowed to take any books that support what they're doing in the classroom. So we really need to get this fixed, and we need to be in the library.
absolutely, I agree. And one last question, I'm wondering, this is a school that was recently renovated. Is this not something that might have been approached or addressed previously?
I think the library was done before we realized that we had moisture problems always. Always, we were able to seal certain areas that hadn't had the tile laid with epoxy. And now as other areas are coming up, we're going back and fixing those. With the carpet tiles, I believe it's easy to remove the tiles, turn out the room, move the tiles, seal the floor, put the carpet tiles back in, where it's back in. And that's why I plan to do that.
Well-
And I had the discussion, I don't think it would want.
All right, thanks, Chris, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
I just want to so for me, when you started to talk about this, I started to have a moment in regards to Lilly and water and moisture and some other issues. So I see remediation, and I'm hopeful that we're not going to have this continuation every year, every 2 years.
We're so
coming back
darn
to Eastline Public Schools. That's kind of where I'm feeling. So I'm hopeful that the actual remediation is going to take care of the issue, but I'm concerned that it's just superficial and that we're just kind of fixing what we have. Clearly need to, fix it and have remediation happen, go back to our library. But is it just covering up a bigger or larger issue that's percolating that's going to keep coming back to this us? So I just want to put that out there because it is $40,000. And the first thing actually that I started to think of was actually something that KCO just stated. We just had a renovation project. So it's bothersome that now we are seeing this issue. And I'm hopeful that we're not going to continuously see this issue come up because I have a bad.
I think what Chris is going with sealing the door, we gotta go back and look, because we only seal portions of that building.
Right, but we
We're
had
having
significant issues that were, and I know that you,
I-
and you were looking at each other.
I took the words out of my mouth.
Right, I
And drain
cannot go
lines and everything else.
verbatim, but I know it's sticking to me right now, so I would feel wrong to not articulate it in some way, because I think that we're gonna have a bigger issue here. And it was percolating through the renovation project. I remember us holding off on Lake, things down because of the moisture, having some tests with the ceiling where
And there
water
was
was
some,
going.
to me, it felt as though we were digging up and dealing with drainage issues and scoping out drain pipes and all that stuff. I didn't feel as though we found a smoking gun to the problem, other than the fact that there was no vapor barrier initially in the building, that we didn't.
But
didn't
you were on the
seem like-
building committee, and I remember.
It's my fault.
No, God, no. No, I didn't mean it that way, but I mean, I tried to stay out of it because my husband's on the building committee. But it seemed like there was a bit of a Pandora box. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. But what you're saying, Candace, I think you're very right on, that this is going to be something we're going to we're gonna hit again. It was like, this is the way they built it in 1955 or 1965. Oh, okay. And you just didn't build that way, or you didn't have the ability. And so, I mean.
As
it's-
Chris said, when we were made aware of the situation, we went in and did choose to put the epoxy down, which was the best
Yes,
tool we had at the time, but that was after the fact of the library, so.
and you couldn't do the whole, I mean, I think we're too late to do the whole school. Because it
Other
was
than
all,
ripping up all the concrete, whole building and putting down, it's.
You in the other areas, right, Chris?
And I, one thing I would point
and
out.
we're not being critical of anyone here. I want to be sure that everyone understands that. We're just having open discussion.
Yeah, one thing that's different about the media center was the
Yep.
classrooms are tiled. There's nothing there that's holding that extra
Mhm.
moisture. So I think really that we put a reheat coil in there, or properly that radiates that.
Mhm.
The old north wing column, of course, it wasn't central there, so.
Mhm.
That's taken care of, or while we continue to run units or whatnot. That will could potentially become a problem, but that's why. Custodians in all the buildings now, one of their main things every day is that custodian walks into every room in the building, so that we're not surprised by.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that's good.
Over the summer, obviously, we all know it was one of the better summers that we had. What was the media center being used, and was the AC on at a, a modified level or something? Or did you try to,
So it was ran.
Okay.
I used,
was the room used though, or?
no, not really. Just occasionally, I'm not sure. They did it.
No, not really, but I had my staff meeting when they were forced to
Yeah.
started, so it, like Jeff said, it happened.
Right.
within just a couple of days.
Yeah, I go through each of the buildings every week myself, and I've been there a couple days before I came in, and I.
So it
noticed
wasn't a cumulative, you don't think it was a
No, it was
cumulative?
very quick. I was there the week before I came in, it felt humid. Starting school next.
Larry, go ahead.
Thanks, and this is really helpful to understand. So just a couple questions. So one is there any reason we have a rug in the library, or is there any thought of not having a rug? Is that
I can only say that there's definitely a comfort portion. Feels nicer, not that industrial. There, that you shouldn't have coffers. So there is aesthetic and sound quality.
I think the sound is hugely different to.
And that is such a wide open space. What furniture is in there that could be an echo.
It's a big space.
I have one additional question.
sorry.
Oh, sorry, Eric, you're not done.
Eric still got the floor.
So just on that. Something white noise or something to drown out. Anyway, look, if there's any way that if this is something that could continue, and if carpeting rug is potential or could be a driver, maybe there's a solution to still not have that. So something to think about. The second question, is there anything that's before the mold forms, that there's a leading indicator that says the conditions that we can measure or look at, and not only for Lilly D, but for other schools or whatever.
So generally temperature, humidity. 50% relative humidity, too low because it tries to keep the science out.
And how often do we measure rooms?
So that's one thing that wasn't being displayed on the building display, which we now change. Whenever, because I go in every day as well and look at where the temperatures are in all the buildings. Types of things. If I pop open any of the media centers or anything, carpet, see
Kate, yeah, no question?
Just one last quick question. Of course, it needs to be fixed, but I'm wondering, don't we have empty wings at Lilly B? Is it possible for the media center? Oh, no rooms in the inn anymore. Okay. No
Okay,
vacancy.
thanks for
Okay.
letting us know.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So Chris, then, it sounds like the board is very supportive and understands that we've got to get this fixed so we get the books back in circulation. So how much do you think you're gonna need?
With different ideas. Fine.
Yeah. All right. Second it. Okay. All right. The motions saying aye. Opposed? Unanimously. You can sit down.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh, boy. Okay, next item for discussion action is the board recognition board, which we had on our agenda last week. The packet. Recognition program is in the board docs right now. And for all the support information, which we did not ask.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to look at it. So I think it's good.
We leave the building with it? Can I drop it off at your office in 2 days? Would you prefer
Yeah,
not?
we don't need, isn't going anywhere. We just the, you want, you can.
Yeah, I'd
sure.
like to just review it.
Yeah.
I just didn't know this was out there floating. My ignorance, I apologize.
No problem. Okay. Okay, so anyone, any comments or things on this? Anybody want to make a motion? No?
I will. I would like to move forward with the pre-board recognition award as presented.
Okay. Eric seconds it. Any further discussion on this item? Barry?
The personal feeling to it, that it feels to me to be very like self-promotional. I don't know how good the optics are of it, of us basically judging ourselves and saying, no, we're really good. Here's the award we could, give. If an outside group came in and looked at us, said, you guys are doing really good, we deem it to be the material to be, eligible for this award, but it's just like, it feels like when, legislators get together and vote a salary increase for themselves, the optics aren't good for it. I think that I think we can be judged basically by our record, what we're doing, and I don't think we need to use a framework established by somebody else to acknowledge that we're really doing it. So I would not be in favor of going forth with this.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Any other comments?
I have a comment. I just read through a lot of this and I will take it as my responsibility. I didn't follow through. I did not realize there were these many things offered by CABE. Part of it was I just remember that it was always up in Hartford. I don't know if there's more of it. But is there a liaison at CABE that we can communicate with to kind of walk us through some of this stuff that we can use to, just use or access the different classes or whatever there is? Do you guys know of anyone? Do you know who it is? Well, but I want someone, I don't want you, I want some.
I would like to comment.
Oh, okay. I was saying, I want someone at CABE.
I know you don't want me, but I would like to comment.
I love you, Jamie.
Kate sends out emails with classes to sign up for.
Mhm.
I get an email every week from Kate with classes to sign up for. It's really easy, just email Jackie. Jackie, can you sign me up for this class? And she does, and you get a little thing in the mail.
I don't recall getting those emails, and it may be my fault that I did not click the right button at the right time. So I'll call Cade and get on that list. Again, is there a contact? I'll work with Jackie on it. Okay. Because I'm not really getting anything. I'm getting this stuff through the mail, but not the emails.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah, Barry, I kind of get the gist of your comment, it really is kind of a checklist of saying a board should do certain things, okay? It's not, it's more in terms of saying, are you following processes as are dictated by the state, by policy, and what PAVE recommends? That's really what you're doing. In terms of the overall quality, I agree with you. There's no in the thing. It's really no assessment to say, to quantitatively say how have you done against certain things. So it's more of a process checklist is the way I look at it. And I think that's it. And I think it's good if you don't qualify for this. I think from a process perspective, you probably have a board that needs to kind of get a little more functioning. So that's why I look at it, but I understand your comments. Okay, so are we ready to, we have a motion on the table?
Well,
Okay.
just a quick comment.
Yeah.
I think that as a board, I look at this and think, this is the criteria, and this is how this organization gives exemplary marks. So perhaps we didn't hit all the markers, but it's an objective or it's criteria, it's a goal, and it's what we should look at and aspire to. And this is the first time I remember seeing it. So it was educational and informative to me. So it gave me some real credence for how we should be conducting business. So I thought it was very helpful.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
good.
it was great. It was an eye opener.
Okay, everybody else set? Okay, so we have a motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed, abstained,
I abstain.
I abstain.
and 2 abstentions. So the motion passes, and we will be receiving that award at the CAVE convention that's held in November. Okay, move on now to for discussion, our district school and improvement plans, or district and school improvement plans. And Jeff, I'll turn to you.
All right, thank you, Tim. Good for time, that's each of our schools to present 12 minutes on the 4 goals. Just a quick, and who needs a hard, would like a hard copy? It's online. Yeah. Yeah. So this whole process, this document started back in the spring. We wanted to get out of the early, not knowing what COVID was going to bring us as we look through this start of the school year. I'm glad we did that because we would have really been struggling if we were trying to pull this all together in the fall. We've done that. A couple of quick points I want to make, and then we're going to turn to our school and the staff members that are here that are going to go through each of these goals. We produced, first and foremost, a document that is user-friendly, and that's extremely important that it can be read by staff, parents, and community members. So out of the gate, that was our real focus, and it is a student-centered document. We really tried to take that premise that it's student-centered. Other great piece this summer, as I mentioned, the work that occurred, our teachers, our staff had input into the document as well. Our leadership committees at each of the schools took some part in the development of it and the building of it. And then the administrators brought that back, to our central office staff, and we worked on it from there, coming up with this final product. We brought in measurements through a lot of the outcomes. That remains a focus for us. So we have those components in there. It's a 1-year plan outline only. So make sure clear, this is 1 year. We still have to figure out whether or not eventually down the road we want to formulate a new either 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan as this is the last year of our current 5-year plan. There's alignment to our district priorities, alignment to ARP allocation of funding, which is extremely important with that money that we had received. And really we want this to be kind of a guide for the Board of Ed goals. It's going to be a guide for my goals. And with that, the people that are sitting out here are some of the most amazing individuals ever, and I want to thank them personally for being here tonight and taking part in sharing this information. A lot of work and effort went into that, and they are great individuals. So thank you, each and every one of you here tonight. So from there, just the structure of this. So we've got our 4 main goals. This is all we focused on. We started out at convocation, started with discussions this summer, and we shared out what those 4 goals are. They're laid out in that fashion. The first one starts with SEL. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with SEL, and we're going to work through. Yeah, thank you. We're going to work through SEL first. We're going to go from high school down to middle school down to elementary. We'll finish SEL, and then we'll move to our next goal. The easiest way for us to kind of understand rather than moving around in between. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over. Our high school is going to start with their discussion on SEL. Welcome Deb, and Deb's going to introduce her team. And Beth, thanks for being with us. And we'll jump right in.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to start first with an overview of some of the things that the high school had to think about in developing our business plan. Because in addition to, we also have our mastery-based diploma assessment and NIAS to think about. So we are calling our mastery-based diploma assessment the Viking Voyage. So as you hear us talking about the Viking Voyage, that's what that's in reference to. And as you know, our NIAS visit is this spring. So fortunately, all of these things really dovetail very well. So we were able to kind of combine all of it into one thing. As you hear about different things at the high school, you're also going to hear about a climate survey that we're going to use to outcomes, and that's something to with central office to try to capture the data that we mentioned. And you're also going to hear us talk a lot more about Naviance. And so for those of you that don't know what Naviance is, it's the software we've been using since 2006 for college and career planning. It's now going to shift into doing that and helping us document the Viking Voyage. And the rest of my team will talk about some of those things later. I'm going to talk to you about social emotional learning. So at the high school, we've been working on this for the last couple of years with the building committee and then a couple of members on the district committee. And what we've done up to this point has been sort of a lot of conversation, but not feeling like we've had a lot of action within the building. So we have been doing for the last 2 years DESA, which is an assessment that the teachers do with the students. It's not perfect at the high school level because the way we do it is one teacher does one class. So we've been looking at the data a lot and trying to figure out the best ways to do that. One of the other things we realized is that the teachers don't necessarily understand what they're assessing. So one of our goals this year is to work with the teachers specifically on their own social emotional competencies, but also in understanding what CASEL and DESA are all about, so that they understand as they are completing those kinds of assessments what they're doing, as well as helping them develop both classroom strategies for tier 1 strategies in the classroom. We have some stuff going on right in the classroom, but then also using advisory to provide direct instruction on SEL to our students at the same time. So we have both implicit and some explicit instruction going on with SEL. We are, with the rest of the district, completing the EdCert books, which are for teachers to reflect on their own competencies and then also on their skills in the classroom. And what we're doing, at least at our school, is we're going through a competency at a month. We did relationship skills, and now we're doing self-management, or one of them. We just passed them out this week. And they're working with their departments and then individually also on those. So that's where we are with it. A focus on helping our teachers have a better understanding of what it is, what we're talking about, because I think a lot of them really think it means mental health, and that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about helping kids develop the skills that align with our vision of the graduate in order to be healthy citizens. So, any questions?
Barry?
I have 3 quick questions that apply just not only to you, but all the other schools on doing this. And they're not really questions, they're more suggestions, because I'm here to take a really good thing and compliment you. These are much, much better than the last school improvement plans I saw a couple years ago. It's really good and a lot of work to do here, but I think there are a couple ways, ideas that I think for consideration. both for you and for the other principals. One is on the use if-then statements very well. They could be improved by saying as measured by, because these they end. Like your first one, there's a teacher provided, then SEL growth will improve as measured by. And you could take every one of the statement, under the high school and all of the main, all the other schools as measured by. And that would, I think, establish a level of accountability for these, which I think is essential. The second point that I continue to look at here was under student outcomes, there's a goal of 75% of students who feel safe or whatever. My question is, why isn't it 100%? I think that if I was going to think of school improvement, I would take most of these and I would set a standard of 100%. Okay, and that's another suggestion for you to consider, particularly when it comes to student outcomes. And SEL to feel safe and connected with adults. It should be, I would have to advocate 100% of all students. And the third, there's a great emphasis here on professional learning, and that the professional learning is going to have this impact upon student learning. We've been doing, for years, there's been a plateau of performance in the district. We've been spending a lot of money on professional learning and kind of staying in the same place. I would be interested in the plan is going to be such that you can bring a link between what you're doing in professional learning. I know you can say, put the teachers here, we did this form of professional learning, there was an evaluation, the teacher said, I liked it, I got this idea, and whatever. The connection with student learning, though, is not cemented across everything in terms of the idea for learning, from a session, instructional session to application. And there's a whole lot of environmental things that impede with that. So I would basically suggest the consideration how to improve the link between what you're doing, and this is not just for you, it's not a criticism, and it's kind of across the board. How we as a district can improve the link between efforts we have on learning and the impact that has on student learning. So those are three things. So, as measured by the if-then statements, to ratchet up the number of students that are going to be affected by these policies from 75% to 100%, and to establish a link between what you're doing in professional learning and outcomes that have an impact, a demonstrated impact upon student growth and learning.
So we're trying to, just to your last point specifically, we're trying to do a monthly kind of feedback thing with the teachers as far as what their professional development is about. We're also trying to use advisory to gauge where the students are with all of it, especially in light of, like, one of our big goals is making sure that everyone feels like there's an adult in the building that they have a connection with. So they've already started through some of the advisory lessons, kind of getting a sense of where we are with that. And hopefully we measure that throughout the year. We're going to probably do some professional development mid-year. We're going to do some where we actually check in with teachers to see where we are with that. We did a thing a few years ago that I think was really helpful with that, where we literally put every single student's name on the wall and said, who do you feel like you have a connection with? And it helped us kind of evaluate for ourselves where we go with that. And I think we'll do something similar to that this year too.
Good, very good.
But thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Thanks, Deb. All right, let's jump to the middle school with SEL.
Hi, everyone. I'll just take a minute. I want to introduce our team. I don't want to come up 4 times, so I'm going to introduce our team. And just let you know that they sort of represent everything that happens every day. They're a really hardworking team. These are the experts. I don't profess to be an expert in every single thing, but I'm really good at picking the right people to be sort of surrounded by those folks and initiating that every day. So that's it. I'm going to have Jen Lathler come up. She's going to talk about SEL learning. Then when we do blended learning, Shane is going to come up, and Margaret was going to come, and she's our literacy specialist. She has to go home ill today. And Shane is going to be great because he's going to give you that link between being a recent classroom teacher and really have a good perspective of what it's like to have a coach come into the building and how that would add value to our program. And then Mario Cruz is going to come up and talk about diversity and inclusion. And we're going to finish up with Claudine. And she's going to talk about our communication, how we communicate out to our kids and to our families and to our teachers. So that's the protocol for tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Lathrop. I'm one of the school counselors at the middle school. So thank you for having me tonight to talk about social emotional learning. As we know, it's a huge component in developing our youth into responsible, caring community members, act on developments including academic performance, forming healthy relationships, and mental wellness. And certainly with the last year and a half and what's going on with the pandemic, this is something that, we see the need daily. Certainly as a counselor, I see the need certainly growing. So, I appreciate that being just a goal, that we're taking this very seriously. In the middle school, we're incorporating SEL into the students' education in a couple of different ways. First, teachers are all really trying to work hard to incorporate it into their daily classroom activities. So whether it's doing daily check-ins with students, just, hi, how are you today? What's going on? What are your highs and lows of the week? Using social emotional vocabulary in their classrooms, or relating SEL directly to curriculum, whether it's in a character of a book that they're reading in class, whether it's, part of a history topic. And although I might already teachers are superhuman with what they've done last year, we do know that we aren't that human, and some teachers are more comfortable and just naturally more comfortable with the SEL topics than others. So we decided that the second way we're going to introduce it is through our advisory program, so that we ensure that all students get direct, explicit instruction in the 5 CASEL competencies. So each month, advisory groups will focus on one of the competencies of relationship skills, self-awareness, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and self-management. Similar, it sounds like, to what Deb is doing at high school. Each month, advisory groups focus on one of those competencies. They meet twice a month in small groups of 10 to 12 for direct instruction, or really a time to work in a small group to connect with adults. They do kind of fun interactive activities, but leads them to answering an essential question through those activities. So the exit to get some data, grabbing data on SEL other than using DESA and those kinds of things is really difficult. So it gives us some data back of what are the it provides a great self-reflection of what skills am I doing well with, what skills do maybe I need to work on a little bit. For example, in September, we just focused on relationship skills, where the essential question was, what strategies can we use to build and maintain healthy relationships with lots of different people? Something we all certainly need in our daily lives, students and adults alike. In my advisory, we discussed what skills were important in relationships. So looking at, what's important with your peers, what's important with your friends, your family members, teachers. And Jason, like this, I had a little Venn diagram of what skills overlapped. Then we did a cooperative activity where they had to work together to accomplish a difficult task. And then we talked about that. What worked well? What skills can we add to that list? What skills maybe we didn't use that we really needed to use? And how can we? So it's a lot about discussion and self-reflection and helping them kind of realize that that's okay to not be there yet. That's okay to those things. On the exit ticket for the whole school was what was one thing that was most challenging for you in the activity, and we did a little bit different activities, but similar. And the answers were very insightful. And several students mentioned that they had a hard time managing their anger when they were getting frustrated with the task. Several students mentioned that they had a hard time speaking up, even though it was a small group. They had a hard time speaking up, even though they felt that they had something to contribute. It was just really hard for them. Maddie said the most difficult thing was listening to everyone's ideas, especially if they didn't think they were good. So these type of responses give us something to kind of build on, because we revisit each CASEL competency later in the year. So when we revisit it again for relationship skills in February, it gives us more talking points and things we can reflect on. also points for starting group work within their classroom, knowing the students' responses were to certain things. And we'll be doing the same type of thing each month as we cover the 5 CAS conferences.
Good. Very good. Thanks, Jim. Let's see, starting us off for elementary.
No.
You're
Oh,
not-
yes, but no.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm just introducing.
Okay.
So, you know, as an elementary group, we have just one plan that we worked on collaboratively this summer. We brought all 3 elementary schools together. I think this is probably our 3rd year doing it. It's awesome. We've really come together as a group and we want to be known as an elementary team and not separate and distinct from each other. So we didn't want the middle school show us up, so we also brought teachers of our own. They are very representative of all the elementary schools, and they're going to share out hopes that we have. So this is Heidi Henry, and Heidi is a 1st grade teacher at Lilly Haynes, and she's going to talk to you about social emotional at the elementary level. Hi.
Heidi, how long have you been with us?
24 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It doesn't feel like it. So I just did want to talk a lot. I can mimic a lot of what the high school and the middle school both have said about social emotional learning. And it's really great to be at the elementary level and be at that point where we are seeing it build already. And so I feel like these kids, having had all the social emotional learning from such an early age, are going to be that much better, right, in middle school and high school. So we also do DESA at the elementary school. And it is, it measures the 8 social emotional competencies. We do it 3 times a year. And I think that also kind of speaks to your question before a little bit, and that's where we see that growth, right? We see, is that professional learning, how are we measuring it? And I think we can really measure it by seeing that growth over those 3 different times that we do the assessment. Because when we first do it, we do the DESA mini, and then if that comes out that there's certain social emotional needs of a certain child, then we go into a deeper dive, right? So we end up with a 72 item assessment for that child. And then we say, okay, where do we need to go? What can we do to help? So it identifies the strengths and areas of need. This helps us as teachers then to plan. How are we going to address that need for that, maybe that specific child or the greater whole? It actually is then what we do as at the different schools, actually. Lilly Bay and Naviance Center both use Choose Love as a social emotional curriculum that's taught in every grade level throughout. And what's been great about that too is to see that language build. So it's been 3 years that we've been doing it. And to now see those kids that are in like 2nd and 3rd grade that have had that experience with it and that common language, it's been phenomenal. And Melissa's so great because even on the announcements, the morning announcements, like we take a great breath on a Monday morning, and it starts everybody out on that really the same page. So that curriculum teaches directly, explicitly to the goals that we have for the CASEL goals for social emotional learning. And I know Flanders School also uses Responsive Classroom, which does the same. So through Choose Love, we teach of courage, gratitude, compassion, forgiveness. And we also have at Lilly Bay, we have PBIS, which the children, by showing kindness, respect, responsibility, or choosing love, they receive what we call VIVA for doing that. They can take it home, share it with their families. And it's a really nice connection to home because the families ask about, wow, how'd you get that feedback? And they can talk about those positive things that they've done. And to see the pride on these little kids' faces when they're all wearing their little medal is like so wonderful. And we really make it a point to say like, oh, you're getting this. This is how you showed kindness, right? So it's always instilling that in the children. Should we have somebody who we're really concerned about, social emotionally, we have a committee at our school, a social emotional learning committee, where we can
address the different needs. We also have a PBIS tier 2 group where we can go and say, I'm really struggling with this. As a teacher, I could go say, I'm really struggling with this. I need some advice, I need some help. And we all work together on that. We also have a leadership committee and the MTSS committee where we can go and again say, these are the referrals that we're getting and they're happening here and they're happening there. You know, they're happening on the bus, they're happening on the playground. What is your advice? How can we build that? That all being said, the reason it's a goal is because we still, as teachers, need more training. And what do we do with that DESA information, right? So we get it back and say, okay, these are the needs, but now where do we go? What do we do, right? And how can we best work together?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
For just do it for everyone. Yep. So we're running theme is how can we help children? Right. How can we help children find voice? How can we help children learn to deal with their emotions? Who's helping the teachers help the children?
Well, that's exactly right. So Melissa certainly go up this, but that's why this is that goal, right? Who is helping us?
Guys are gonna need a shoulder, a hand, pull you through helping the kids learn to navigate this.
Right.
I mean, I think about my children, my childhood and all the emotions and everything that goes through that. You can't, I don't think it should be dumped on the teachers 100%, and the teachers then have to absorb that, and then they have no outlet.
Psychologists or counselors.
Yes, and I'm
Now.
right. I was going to say that. Really, thank God we have the social workers now, because I know for a long time I really felt that was a need that was lacking. We do have now, and I myself have gone to her times and just said, I need help. You know, like how do we
But so
reach out?
the teachers aren't going somewhere, they're getting some.
Yes, through social workers and school psychologists. On top of that, this PBIS tier 2 team, I've gone there too, right? And so it's like a whole bunch of us, special ed teachers, everybody meets together. And the brain power that I walked out of those meetings feeling like, oh, I have some, right? Because yes, there's been when you feel like, what do I do, right? World that we live in now, the changing things and the pandemic, and, right? It's a lot. Right.
So I just, that's what that was my question, like who's helping the teachers?
Absolutely.
And
I do feel supported.
I want to make sure that other group is getting help.
Absolutely. And thank you. Really.
Thank you.
All right. Good.
I have a quick question. I know this is important. You guys, I know you support each other and I want you the happiest you'll ever be in your life when you walk in our buildings.
Yes.
But my concern is, do we involve the parents? I mean, do we involve the parents as part of the support system?
Well, I would say.
I mean, that's what I'm just thinking. It should not be dumped on you all.
Right, absolutely. I think individually as teachers, we do, right?
Mhm.
Involve the parents, and I think when it gets to that next level, we certainly would involve them also.
Okay.
If we have to have like a behavioral meeting type of thing, like if it became such an issue, it was an impact on learning, right?
Yeah.
But on top of that, I think just as teachers, we naturally get,
I just want them in there holding hand, going into the trenches with you.
yes,
I mean, we would support you in any way you could.
yes.
We could as a board, but I want the parents to be in there sharing with you
Absolutely.
because some don't have the skill set to do it.
It's true.
They don't.
Absolutely. Right.
All right, all right.
absolutely. And we can
I'm
reach
gonna be
out to
quiet.
them. It's fun.
No, I want to make sure everybody has a chance to.
Yeah.
Just, thank you, Heidi.
Yes,
Yeah, very good, Heidi.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Miss Heidi.
Let's jump into blended learning. And we'll start back at the high school. And I'm sure you figured out the layout too with, the just the two problem structure, the standards for effective practice. These that are going to report. So Julie, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I know I missed the last late in the spring last year, but I'm Julie Chabot, assistant principal at the school. And I wanted to share our progress on blended learning. I hope you don't mind, I read some of my notes. Technology played a large role in education last year, and we want to continue to integrate technology along with strengthening our tiered levels of instruction to continue to remediate student growth as we come out of the pandemic. Teachers will be working this year with instructional coaches to provide a wider variety of classroom experiences for students. Teachers will collaborate with our instructional coaches to strengthen instructional practices to improve student engagement and ownership in their own learning.
Both Deb Kelly and Henry have participated in professional development in the instructional coaching model, and we will continue to improve capacity in this area. One of our goals for this year is to ensure students are able to consistently access a variety of technology-based learning platforms, including Google Classroom, Naviance, and Infinite Campus. We started the school year implementing consistent practices with how teachers organize Google Classroom, ensuring that students have a reliable means to easily see assignments, due dates, and instructional materials in this platform. And finally, we want our students to be provided with a high-quality blended learning educational experience, including the use of MTSS, multi-tiered system of support, which I'm going to turn over to David Pizzula to explain more of that program for us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So my current role this year is a 504 MTSS and Pathways Coordinator at Eastline High School. First, we transitioned from using the term Scientific Research-Based Interventions, or SRBI, to more contemporary multi-tiered system of supports model, or MTSS. MTSS is a data-driven framework of interventions and supports designed to address academic and behavioral challenges, as well as provide data as needed for special education or 504 referrals. For special education, the data is used in initial PPTs to help identify whether or not a child is suspected of having a learning disability. In the area of math at Eastline High School, we've increased our capacity to provide math interventions and data collection. We've initiated new screenings utilizing the STAR Math program and expanded use of IXL Math to provide targeted interventions. Our new math interventionist and math CIL are working with teachers to collect and disseminate data, build capacity in terms of interventions, and provide a continuum of support. Support ranges from classroom interventions to direct MTSS instruction on target areas. We believe the increased use of STAR data and the IXL Math program will allow our practitioners to better provide targeted math interventions at Eastline High School. Any questions?
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, Shane, we went to the middle school.
Evening, everyone.
Hi.
I am Margaret Balboni. I'm going to try and work this. So the middle school is going to focus this year again more so on integrating some of the things that we've done last year and providing that balance between what students are doing on paper and what students are doing on the computer. As a former classroom teacher, I can tell you that balance can be really difficult. And as part of that process, we are also, like the high school, going to engage our coaches. So as you know, we're fortunate enough to have 3 coaches at the middle school. We have our technology coach, our ELA coach, and thanks to all of your hard work, we also have a math coach this year, which we're very excited about. And they'll be pushing into classrooms and working with teachers. I just want to talk a little bit about what that process actually looks like and what it's going to look like for our teachers. So our coaches are going to work more closely with our teachers on data analysis. Our teachers collect a lot of data. We have spreadsheets that house that data, and they'll look very carefully at that data with the teachers to help plan some instruction around whatever it is the topic that we'll be teaching are. In the classrooms, maybe doing some co-teaching, some modeling. Co-teaching is not new for the teachers in middle school because we do that with our special education teachers, so I know they'll be very open to that. Then they'll do their closure, their assessment, and review all that data as well, and decide what instructional decisions need to be made based on that moving forward. And we have a range of different things that we can use in terms of measuring that information. So we're really excited about the coaching model. I think our teachers are excited about it as well. And I think it will help us and our students move forward and grow. And we can use that information as well for the DSS process. Right? What supports can we do in that setting with our students? And then we need that tier 2, tier 3 interventions that we can use that data for as well.
Great. Wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
And Danielle.
So I'm just going to introduce elementary staff for our second goal, which is blended learning. So as we've mentioned, through the coaching model, we'll really focus on strengthening that tiered instruction of leveraging the technology that we have in our building. We've seen a lot of growth in literacy achievements since we incorporated our literacy coaches as part of our school. So I think the addition of our math coach couldn't have come at a better time in each of the buildings. So we're really excited for the work that they're going to do for this blended learning. The CSB recent reports show that math loss is going to have the greatest impact. So once again, coaching couldn't have come at a better time. So I do want to welcome Kim Hill, literacy coach from the Current School, and Tracy Byrne, the math coach from Flanders, and they're going to share
Tracy and I just wanted to back up a bit and explain the term blended learning, which is an approach that integrates face-to-face teacher-led instruction, such as whole groups, small groups, one-to-one, independent work, with online learning experiences such as station rotations, flip classrooms, and more. And learning experiences, either student or teacher-led, provide students control over where, when, and how they work. So this blended learning approach to teaching, this blended approach to teaching and learning is not entirely new, although we use the term is. As the elementary schools crafted a response to the blended learning goals this summer, we redesigned how we approach strengthening our tiered levels of instruction and technology integration. Our teams thought about how to intentionally plan and provide for effective student growth. And we decided that teachers would engage in student-centered coaching cycles that focus on research-based instructional practices and how we integrate that technology. This decision to strengthen instruction through student-centered coaching was based on significant research by John Hattie. Hattie is an educational researcher who has studied what works best in student learning and synthesized more than 1,500 meta-analyses of studies around the globe. Research demonstrates that collective teacher efficacy is the most effective influence on student learning. So this translates at the elementary level into groups of teachers working together, instructional coaches, fed by student evidence. Instructional coaches and our administrators work in teams to analyze summative and formative data and thereby develop expectations of what a year's growth looks like. To design coaching cycles and based goals and instructional practice that lead to growth. We reflect on those data to determine success using students and such as grade level meetings, coaching meetings. Goal is that in the end, the collective of our coaching and their education work together to drive the kind of impact and growth that our students need and deserve, no matter.
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to also start off by thanking you for supporting the math coach in each building. And this structure provides, the coaching structure provides the help that we really need for the work that we're doing around Old True, for the blended learning and student-centered coaching. I'm going to focus specifically on student outcomes for Old True. As the runner prepares for a race, many data points that successful or accomplishment of the goal, practice runs, training protocols, and adjustments. In schools and classrooms, we use multiple measures, both formative and summative assessment, to monitor students' progress and plan for instruction. We are currently in the process of taking a deep dive into where students are right now. And we do this in different types of meetings. We have our school leadership team, our teaching and learning meetings, our coaching meetings, and our MTSS meetings. We want to make learning visible and use the evidence on a daily and weekly basis to help students move forward and to plan the next steps and to adjust instruction. By June 2020, we want to move the needle for students and see at least 75%, hopefully 100% of our students who are currently scoring at the approaching grade level move to at grade or above in both English, language arts, and mathematics. This is an ambitious goal, but very realistic as we build partnerships between the teachers, coaches, administration, and we focus on student learning, integrating technology, in a blended learning environment.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, guys.
Jumping to DEI and high school. Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Could I make just a comment on the district before, I don't want to like talk to any of the teachers. If I talk to the schools, and it's taken that I'm criticizing the schools.
Yeah.
I want to do something, I want to talk more globally about, how this is set up on a district plan. Do this.
Yep, can we, for the end, just so we
Okay,
can
I'll
get
do it,
through
but
and
there
then-
is perspective on terms of the fidelity of treatment or fidelity of implementation of our DEI policy.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
reflected in these
Oh, okay,
plans.
I see.
Okay, and that's the point that because there's a disconnect between what we have at the policy level for our DEI policy
Mhm.
and what's being kind of reflected in these plans.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so I don't know if you want to talk about now or I'll wait until they get done.
let's wait till they get done.
Okay, fine.
All right, thank you.
Because again, I don't want to criticize any of this.
Oh, no, no,
Yeah,
you're not.
no, it's good to get feedback. That's what we're here for.
Thank you all for having us. I'm Henry Kidd. I'm assistant principal at the high school this year. I'm working with 11th to 12th graders. I did write down my notes, so I'll read if you don't mind. While recent events may have frustrated DEI efforts at the high school, please don't confuse our frustration for defeat. It's clearer now than it ever has been that we need the help of our students and the greater community in order to maintain a positive school environment. We look to continue the progress we made last year by partnering with our students and the community to cultivate environment in school. So we seek to continue to partner with our students, especially to ensure that we use their voices and experiences in shaping programming at the high school. Last year, for example, student volunteers from the Viking Saga and the Diversity Club helped author advisory lessons and represented our student body on our school-based DEI committee. This year, our school-based DEI committee will finalize our student representation for this year in the coming weeks, and members of the administration have met directly with several members of the student body over the course of the past week to hear their perspectives on recent incidents in order to shape an effective school-wide response. So we continue to seek the student voices on respect and inclusion, and partnerships with our student body will also be shaped by our culture. One of the recommendations from the equity audit was to create more intentional opportunity to participate in our classrooms. Additional efforts on partnering with the greater community in order to create a more environment this year. Last year, for example, members of the Viking Saga moderated a panel discussion in observance of the MLK Day, featured some of our alumni, Superintendent Newton, and other community members as well. So we look to continue efforts like this during the school year this year. And one opportunity that we'll be seeking your support on this year will be a project partnering students, teachers, community members, and also police from Eastline with students, teachers, community members, and police from Norwich to create system murals in Eastline and Norwich. This is a project sponsored by the group of Public Art for Racial Justice Education that's already connected students from New London and Old Lyme together on a similar project. Another recommendation from the audit was to review curriculum to uncover inequitable tendencies and through line. Last year at the high school, we added the new African American, Black, and Puerto Rican Latino course to our program of studies. High schools in Connecticut will be required to offer this course next fall. This course, coupled with the curricular auditing that will occur as content areas review their curriculum with the existing curriculum revision cycle, will ensure that our curriculum promotes more cultural awareness in the viewpoints and perspectives of all demographic groups. Mr. Pasula has a couple of highlights that he'll mention as well, and then I'll finish up our portion.
Thank you. As part of the DEI audit for Domain 2, two areas were highlighted. Students crave more opportunities for experiential learning, and students want an increase in trade classes and technical education options. This year, we are increasing the experiential learning opportunities, which encompass volunteering opportunities, job shadows, and internships for students at Coastal and Eastline High School, with new community partners and increased rigor. We're working on ELO endorsements for students participating in our career and technical education classes, as well as our career concentrations program. Endorsement will allow students to better connect their learning in the community and will be recognized on their transcripts. Also of note, the career concentrations program has recently expanded with the addition of the world languages and cultures concentration and an international endorsement. We've also built a strong partnership with the Eastern Connecticut Workforce Initiative and Electric Boat for summer internship opportunities, as well as and employment opportunities. We're proctoring the manufacturing skills assessment to allow students access to the EV manufacturing pipeline initiative. And are in conversations with stakeholders to explore the possibility of Eastline High School becoming a recognized youth manufacturing pipeline school. We're also working on the latest Perkins 5 grant application to help support the career and technical education initiatives. So a lot of work with our community partners recently, and we're really excited about.
Sounds great.
Just to finish up quickly, our school-based DEI committee does have a really energetic group of teachers. We didn't bring them here tonight, but they would have been a lot of fun.
That's all right.
Currently reviewing the equity audit in preparation to recommendations that are pertinent to the high school. And in addition, we'll continue to seek that professional development that you all were talking about for our teachers in order to equip them with the skills needed to embed best teaching practices related to DEI in their classrooms. We believe that through these efforts, our students and faculty will gain confidence in their ability to care for the inclusive, equitable, and empathetic school community we do seek to foster and maintain. And we thank you for your support in these efforts.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mario.
Hey, Mario.
My name is Mario Cruz. I'm a social worker at the middle school. Similar to the work that the high school is doing, we're working with Jeff and trying to align the equity audit to the work that we want to. Taking into consideration that in the middle school, it looks a bit really different than the high school. I think we'll be at the elementary school because we're trying to keep in mind what is developmentally appropriate for the students that we have in the building, knowing that we have 6 to 8 students in the school. So we have 3 district members, 3 school members that are represented in the district team. That's Claudine Kelly, Sarah Zielinski, and myself. And then we have 15 members of the school, faculty members that are part of the school committee team. The work that we have been doing is trying to identify students that might want to be part of the committee. Right now, the team decided that based on the content and the language of the conversations that we'll be having around this topic, limit participation and the right now, just like this high school, reviewing bullets and the audit that we put in place. I mean, what will be the final action for the year?
Thank you. Meeting you, Mario.
Likewise.
Mr. Provost, are you sure?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Mr. Provost.
Good evening to you as well. And we're here. Everybody, thank you for everybody that's here tonight. Thank you for inviting us this evening. We do think this is very important. My first job tonight is to introduce a few people to you. Amanda Roy, 3rd grade teacher at Niantic Center School, and also LaShawn Kingsman, who's a 1st grade teacher at Flanders, and they are here to talk to you about the goal of diversity, equity, and inclusion at the elementary level.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be with you this evening.
Good
My name
evening.
is LaShawn Kinsman, and I teach 1st grade, like you said, at Flanders, and I serve on our building-based committee for DEI. On the building-based committee, we have monthly meetings where we spend hours talking about how to move DEI forward in the district and how important it is for our community, for our students, and for our staff. In an effort to move DEI forward, we believe that if the elementary staff are able to engage in ongoing professional learning and develop an understanding of culturally responsive teaching practices, then the students will be able to benefit from an environment that validates the diversity and experiences of all. As a classroom teacher, I see how important this is. I see children's eyes light up when they are able to see a child in a book that looks like them, or a family that looks like their family. This is such an important effort in our district, and I am so proud to be a part of the district that's putting this in the forefront. Student outcomes, the students that we expect from this solution is, as a result of this, we believe that the elementary staff engaging in professional learning, students will experience a school environment that promotes equity and fosters inclusion. We also believe that we'll be able to maintain a welcoming learning environment where all students feel a sense of belonging, feel respected, feel valued, and feel safe.
All students will have access to an equitable and inclusive environment where all students have the same opportunity regardless of any challenges that may exist. In the 2021-2022 end of the year climate survey, 70% feel a sense of respected. Something that came up in a recent district-wide DEI meeting was just the fact that looking over the audit results, even one student feeling like they don't belong is a problem in itself. So obviously something very important to us. And I know that came up in our subcommittee as well with the 3 elementary schools. So the structure and staffing, we have our district-wide DEI committee as well as the 3 elementary schools joined in 1 elementary committee. We felt that was important to be aligned as the 3 elementary schools. We've also, as mentioned in the SEL, implemented the Choose Love and Responsive Classroom in the 3 elementary schools, with Flanders doing Responsive Classroom, Lilly, Haynes, and Niantic Center doing Choose Love. And we find that those programs really easily allow us to embed the DEI into our social emotional learning, because really those go hand in hand, they're one and the same. And along those same lines, we also feel like it's important to look at DEI not just as an entity in itself, but something of the lens through which we look at everything we do in our school district, in our schools, in our classrooms. Whether it's the book choices, whether it's the authors we're choosing, the conversations, the topics. So everything that we do, really, that should be the lens we're looking at. Is it inclusive, equitable, and incorporating diversity? And I believe that sums it. Any questions?
Thank you.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Hi, Mrs. Tice, but why don't we just cruise through the last goal, and we'll circle back and we can talk about questions. DEI, very engaging in communication. All right, Abby, take us away to high school.
I
know.
Good evening, I'm Abby Tomorrow, assistant principal at the high school and director of cultural connections. So engagement and communication kind of seems like a rather routine category, but after a full year of non-traditional schooling, we really need to return to more normal structure and sensibility, whatever that is. But we need to trend towards that. So basically, to me, what it's saying is, how do we effectively transition from like those daily calls? Please see the letter from Superintendent Newton regarding a positive COVID-19. So how we can move to some concise, effective communication that supports faculty and staff, and then promotes parent engagement. And it's a real challenge to get the parents re-engaged and do what's most effective for the students. So we're going to start small. We're working with the faculty to increase the communication and engagement with the students through the platforms that we discussed earlier, like Infinite Campus, keeping grades up to date, making sure the students know where to get their schedules, district messages, and school messages. Google Classroom, maintaining assignments and immediate responsive teacher feedback. And then Naviance, using it for college and career readiness, and interest surveys and others of the like Deb had referenced in her talk. We're also using building professional development to build faculty capacity so that the teachers know how to better use these platforms, because if the teachers are in them, then it's not going to be an effective method for students. We also have the Principal's Weekly Newsletter that has started. It communicates information in a timely manner. The information is disseminated, is gathered throughout the week from the faculty and staff, and then hopefully pushed out. And again, it's just hopefully a concise format where they can pick and choose what they read through. And then lastly, we hope to be able to utilize our technology coach once we get one at the high school. Kind of waiting for that. But once we do, we'll be able to produce some videos for the faculties and for the families, and from there. But that's just kind of in a holding pattern right now. So in a nutshell, we're just trying to move back to normalcy.
Thanks, Abby.
Mrs. Kelly.
Good evening. I'm Claudine Kelly. I'm one of the assistant principals for Eastline Middle School. Thanks for having us all this evening. I get to speak to you this evening about engagement and parent communication.
Our overall goal is if Eastline Middle School administration communicates to families on a consistent weekly updates in the areas of academic, social and emotional, and DEI by using various modalities, and parents will be better informed of instruction occurring within our building. And the same thing with the teachers, if they communicate regularly, and the teachers communicate regularly, then the parents will be informed of the instruction as well for the middle school. What's exciting and what I get to share with you is the ways that we go about doing that. Our students are greeted every single morning when they're coming off the buses individually by an adult to welcome them. We start off what date is A1, B1. So they're greeted before they even get off the bus. We then transition. All of us try to make it news every single week to greet the kids. There's updates and things happening in the buildings, cross-country events, different sports clubs that are being started, and just little bits of trivia here and there during the day. Or we try to model some of the social emotional. For example, good morning, Mr. Bickgood, how are you today? Just to kind of show them that exchange and what's considered appropriate modeling. That's really a fun place to be and see the kids in action. Driven newsroom. If you haven't to see it, we would encourage you to come down. And they're awesome. In terms of our families, we send newsletters home pretty much every Friday afternoon, and if it's not a newsletter, it's some type of a short video vignette. So that goes home. We try to incorporate families being able to see different our faces within the building. So coming up, we're going to highlight our head custodian and introduce him, our administrative assistant, because they are the faces within the building. So for the families to be able to connect the voice to a face. So we're trying to incorporate all of the different staff through the course of the year in some of those videos. So it's not just the also have 6 newsletters that our school counselors will be sending home during the course of the school year. Our social workers are sending updates as well. They just produced a phenomenal that went home that such tips relax, medicine, how to decompress, how to listen to your children. We were also for families who communicate through emails, phone calls, team meetings. And in addition, our individual teams this year will each be sending home team-based videos per Kiva, 2 of those per year, and 2 newsletters from each of the Kivas. So that's, we're looking forward to that. With our staff, we communicate on a weekly, we call it a Q&A, question and answer. So relevant and pertinent things that they need to be able to keep updated with on a weekly basis. We send that out on Friday afternoons. We do ask staff if there are things specifically that they need responses for. Please reach out to us and we'll incorporate that, because if one person has a question, it's probably strong likelihood that other staff members in the building have that same question in mind, and this way we're not missing anything. We have team leaders where we meet on Monday afternoons, and that's an opportunity for leadership or input from our staff members, as well as to be able to have decision making for best the needs of our building. We have curriculum, data teams, and then we communicate in all the different subcategories within our teams. And through Google, all of our students and staff at Infinite Campus have highly utilized as well. So a lot of communication, a lot of good things happening that we're able to continue to look for ways to make things better. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow. All right, I am back. As many of you know me, you know I'm outnumbered at home and at work. So it was decided by a 2-to-1 vote that I would present this part of the presentation.
You guys are
So here I
wicked.
am again. But listen, I know it's 20 of, and I know you have a long night, so I will be quick. This is a very important goal for us. It's a goal that I think we do a really excellent job with. And I don't mean just principals and teachers. Central office does an excellent job sharing communication as well, but we'll continue to try to work and improve that always. So with that in mind, the solution for us really is to continue to maintain and build relationships with our families and share information so that everybody feels part of the school and belongs in the school. It's like they belong in the school. Part of that student outcome will include attendance data, parent climate surveys, principal weekly sway, which we started several years ago. I get a lot of compliments on that sway. Like people say to me, "Oh, it's Friday, I got the sway," or you know, "Can't wait to get the Friday afternoon sway." And I think to myself, wow, that's really cool. I know with my kids, I struggle to read it by Sunday. But those are really good pieces of information for us. Seesaw, our teachers do an awesome job with Seesaw, and the communication back and forth from home. And this is something that really took off in the pandemic. It's one of those silver linings that there's a lot of silver linings, but that's one of them in terms of communication that's been really useful for us. And of course, DESA results also with the student outcomes, and then how we kind of weave those into our social emotional learning goals, which we spoke of earlier. And then in terms of structure and staffing, our instructional technologists provide instructional guidelines to our teachers, how to use Seesaw, how to use Infinite Campus. Those are things that sound simple, but when you delve into there's so much information in there that it can be overwhelming. And our technologists have done an awesome job with our teachers to make sure that they're up to speed. They also work with our paraprofessionals, which is very important because our paraprofessionals are very important. You know, I always say that they're very important in terms of helping our teachers to produce these graduates that we're looking to produce in the upper years. We also share our attendance policy at the beginning of the year. That's been in all of our sways. Jamie's shaking her head. She's seen it. It's in my sway every week about attendance. Our leadership team in the school meets monthly, and we use these guidelines. And some of you remember the kind of the gray box on the side, which we talk about progress to date. So we meet and we talk about all those we've made. Our MTSS team, which Dave referenced earlier and gave a great explanation about, is part of this process. And the social emotional learning committees, they're established at the schools. I know mine's already met 3 times, and they are actually doing a presentation on Wednesday at the faculty meeting. So that's kind of the engagement and communication goal. And thank you for having us here tonight. And thank you to everybody who came. You guys did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank
Excellent.
you, everybody.
I just would like to say before we open the floor here, I found the presentations to be absolutely outstanding, the quality to be really, really good. I mean, I'm very impressed. So, very nice job to everybody.
We put a glossary of terms in the back too to help out with any
I saw
questions.
Yeah.
Lisa and Kim did a great job of helping out in this document. And we have lots of data that we be bringing back to you. Just move to the
Okay, I'm just gonna say bravo to each and every one of you. I know you can't see my smile, but it is from ear to ear. You all are just absolutely incredible people. I enjoyed listening so much tonight and just hearing such good work that's going on and visions that we have for this district. You all make me very proud. It's so invigorating and exciting to hear. So I'm so thankful that you are all here. Thank you so much.
Somebody else? Barry?
I just return back to the DEI issue.
Okay.
I'm trying to make this quickly, but
Sure.
the DEI, our policy has great breadth to it.
Barry, just to be clear, the strategic plan or the policy? I just want to be clear.
The DEI document that has 6 things.
The
we talked
strategic
about
plan.
establishing-
Yeah, that's okay. I just want to be
DEI
clear
action.
with what you're referencing.
And I'm particularly referencing the 2 goals of that, which is to build students' capacity to foster equity, to fight against racism and foster diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because the whole plan is focused in on what's happening to students. Now, trying to look for that language in these DI documents, and I don't quite see, particularly in the district thing, that the language, if we were faithful to the DEI policy, the language
It's
here,
it's a strategic plan, it's not a policy.
or whatever you want. to
Yeah,
call it.
good, that's okay.
Just
That-
want to be clear.
Yep.
You know, the,
Good.
you know,
Yeah, I know
the-
it exactly.
the two goals we have.
Yep.
You know, for students, that we want to develop student, the language in that our purpose is to develop students' capacity to fight against racism and foster equity, diversion, and inclusion. You know, so it's
Yep.
students, it's what's happening to students. You know, and that's the language that I think should be embedded in here more fully. Because, you know, for example, they say, you know, the standards and practice on page 13, it says, correct DEI gap.
Exactly from the strategic plan.
No, but that's DEI guess, but it doesn't deal with the language that the purpose of the activities are to build students' capacity to do this. Right, and I'll give you one example of it. There are many more from this, and particularly I'm going to move
Both of these. That one.
This one got turned off completely. Like someone manually.
Let's see.